Questions 11 through 20 on the 2010 Grade 10 AMC 10B. A shopper plans to purchase an item that has a listed price greater than $100 and can use any one of three coupons. Coupon A gives 15% off the listed price, Coupon B gives $30 off the listed price, and Coupon C gives 25% off the amount by which the listed price exceeds $100. Let X and Y be the smallest and largest prices, respectively, for which Coupon A saves at least as many dollars as Coupon B or C. What is Y minus X? I'll let the price be P, since I don't know what the price is. And let's talk about the three coupons A, B, and C. The first coupon gives 15% off the listed price, so what I'm going to be paying is 0.85p. The second coupon gives $30 off the listed price, so what I will be paying is P minus 30. And the last coupon is a little bit different. First, you have to take P minus 100 to get the amount that's above $100. And then of that, you're taking a 25% discount. So you have to pay 75% of that. And then don't forget to add that $100 in the beginning. So these are the prices that we are going to pay. And what they're saying is that X refers to the price when this is equal to this, when A is equal to B. So when 0.85p is equal to P minus 30. And if you do this, you will get 30 is equal to 0.15p, and that means P is going to be 200. So that is really referring to X. Y is referring to when A and C result in the same price, those two coupons. So that means 0.85p is equivalent to 100 plus 0.75 p minus 100. So solving this one, we get 0.85p is equal to 100 plus 0.75p minus 75. And then put everything on one side, collecting like terms, and you get 0.1p is equal to 25, and therefore P is 250. So what they want in the question is Y minus X. Okay? Well, Y, we just figured out, was 250. X was 200, so Y minus X is 50. And therefore, number 11, the answer is A. At the beginning of the school year, 50% of all students in Mr. Wells' math class answered yes to the question, "Do you love math?" And 50% answered no. At the end of the school year, 70% answered yes, and 30% answered no. Altogether, X% of the students gave a different answer at the beginning and end of the school year. What is the difference between the maximum and minimum possible values for X? Let's just use some numbers, makes our life easier. Let's say the class had 100 students. Big class, right? And initially, at the start of the school year, 50% said yes, and 50% said no. And then at the end of the school year, we've got this 70-30 scenario. So we have to figure out, what can X be? Well, I always look at extreme case scenarios since they're talking about minimum and maximum. So the first extreme case scenario is when everybody who said yes says yes again at the end of the school year. So all of these people still say yes. So they said yes at the start, they say yes at the end of the school year. But this number is 70. That means in order for that number to be 70, 20 have to come from here. That's the only way you're going to get 70, 50 plus 20. So if 20 say no if 50 said no at the beginning, and then 20 of them changed and said yes, that means the remaining 30 is what ends up here. So our question now is, what is X? Well, X refers to the people who gave a different answer. The only ones who gave a different answer are these guys right here. So X here equals 20. Correct? Everybody else went from either yes to yes or no to no. This 20 are the only ones that changed their answer. They initially had said no, and now they're saying yes. Now the other extreme case scenario is the same kind of story. We start off with 50 yes and 50 no. But this time, all of the changing is not going to come solely from this group. It's going to be divided. So we have to end up with 70 and 30, right? That's our goal, to match the question. So how can I do that in another extreme case scenario? Well, what I can do is I can have all 50 of these change their answer from initially a no to a yes. And therefore, for this to become 70, 20 have to come from here, right? But then if 20 come from there, the other 30 have to go here. And that's how we end up with 70 and 30. Now we have to talk about how many changed their answer. Well, this 50 represents the people who changed. They initially had said no, but now they're saying yes. And then this 30 also represents people who changed their answer. Initially they had said yes, but now they're saying no. So the total number of people who changed their answer in this scenario is 80. So this is the minimum value for X, and this is the maximum value for X. And they want the difference between the minimum and maximum. So that would be 80 minus 20, which is 60. So number 12, the answer is D. What is the sum of all the solutions of X equals absolute value of 2X minus absolute value of 60 minus 2X? All right. Well, this is a question that involves several scenarios, but fortunately those scenarios are not too many. The first one, of course, is when this 60 minus 2X is greater than or equal to 0. If that is the case, that means 60 is greater than or equal to 2X, and therefore X is less than or equal to 30. So going back to our equation, we have X minus 2X. If it's greater, we just drop the absolute value, like that. And then now we have X is equal to the absolute value of 2X minus 60 plus 2X, like that. And then this is going to be 4X minus 60. Now to proceed, we have to let 4X minus 60 be greater than or equal to 0, and therefore 4X is greater than or equal to 60, therefore X is greater than or equal to 15. So if that is the case, we drop the absolute values again, and we get the following. Solving for X, we get 60 is equal to 3X, and therefore X is equal to 20. Now let's just see if it falls within this range. Combining these two ranges, we get X is greater than or equal to 15, or X is less than or equal to 30, and indeed 20 is in that range. So we got one possible value for X. Now we have to continue, but for different scenarios. The next scenario, of course, is when we got down to this step, but instead of it being greater than 0, 4X minus 60 is less than 0. If that is the case, then that means we have 4X is less than 60, and therefore X is less than 15. And this part of the equation becomes X equals 60 minus 4X. And therefore 5X is equal to 60, and therefore X is equal to 12. So that's another solution. Now to get the, I believe there's one more, right? There's going to be one more solution. To get the last solution, we have to go back to the beginning. And if you remember, at the very beginning, we had let that equal greater than 0. Now what we have to do is let that be less than 0. So this 60 minus 2x now has to be less than 0. And if that is the case, 60 is less than 2x, and therefore x is going to be greater than 30. So that means x becomes absolute value of 2x minus 2x minus 60, like that. And therefore x will be the absolute value of 2x minus 2x plus 60. Interestingly, the 2x's cancel and you just get 60. So there's my third and final value. Now I have to find the sum. So the sum of all values, 60 plus 20 plus 12, and that is 92. So number 13, the answer is C. The average of the numbers 1 to 99 and x is 100x. What is x? So 1 plus 2 plus 3, all the way up until 98 plus 99 plus x. This whole average is 100x. Now we have to divide by a number. We divide obviously by how many numbers there are, and there are 100, right? 99 and x. 99 numbers and then an extra x. So this is my formula. I have to solve for x now. Now these guys, I hope you know there's a formula for that. 1 plus 2 all the way up until n consecutive numbers is n times n plus 1 over 2. So that means that guy that I just wrote is 99 times 100 divided by 2. And then you have this x, and that is all over 100, and that equals 100x. All right, so far so good. We can cross multiply. This becomes 100 times 100x. This one here becomes 99 times 50, and then plus x. All right, so far so good, I hope. So now this we can isolate for the x's. This will be 100 times 100 is what, 10,000, and then minus 1x, so 9999x. And I believe that factors 99 and 101. And then the good news is the 99s on both sides factor, so you just get, cancel I should say, and then you just get 50 is equal to 101x, so then isolating for x, it's just 50 over 101. So number 14, the answer is B. On a 50-question multiple choice math contest, students receive 4 points for a correct answer, 0 points for an answer left blank, and negative 1 point for an incorrect answer. Jesse's total score on the contest was 99. What is the maximum number of questions that Jesse could have answered correctly? So for correct, we get 4. For unanswered, we get 0. And for incorrect, we get negative 1. So what they're saying is that if you have a score, it'll be 4C. The unanswereds don't contribute anything because they get 0. But then you get negative 1 times incorrect. And they're saying for him, that equals 99. So we have to kind of fiddle around with this, try to figure out what is C, what is IC. Well, one thing we know for sure is that we can sort of look at it in a way that he answered all the questions. So C plus IC is equal to 50. I think that's the only way we're going to get a maximum number for C. So if that is the case, we can isolate for one of these guys. We can isolate for IC incorrect, which is just 50 minus C, and then substitute that in. So then we got 4C. This will just be minus, right? Minus IC, which is 50 minus C, is equal to 99. So that means 4C minus 50 plus C is 99. And therefore 5C is going to be 149. Now if I divide through, I get approximately 29.8. But I can't have 29.8 questions because the number of questions has to be a whole number. but I can have 29. That's the maximum it can be. And if you go back and verify, it'll be a scenario where you have 29 times 4 points, and then you would need 17 incorrect, and that would result in a score of 99. So number 15, the answer is 29, which is choice C. The square of side length 1 and a circle of radius √3/3 share the same center. What is the area inside the circle, but outside the square? So first, let's draw a diagram and discuss this. So here is the diagram, and the region that they are interested in is right here. This guy right here, these parts of the circle. So as you can see, that those areas that I've shaded are inside the circle, but they are outside the square. So how do we find that? Well, we need to first draw a few lines. I'm going to draw a center. I'll just draw a diameter first and foremost, all the way across. And then I'll draw another one top to bottom, like that. Kind of split this into 4 quadrants, right? And then what we'll do is we'll draw a line from the center to the edge right there. And then another one, same way to the other end, like that. And what that does is obviously it creates a triangle. And what I'm interested in is the shaded region, so I'll call just one of those shaded regions A. So essentially what I've been asked to do is find 4A. If I can find A, then I'll just multiply it by 4. Okay, now the most important thing, I think, is these lengths. That's really going to help us. The side length of the square is 1. So that means that from here to here is 1. So that means just half of that will be a half, obviously. 1 divided by 2. So that is representing this part of the diagram. Now this is the radius of the circle, and that radius, they told me, is √3/3. And this is a right angle right there. Now if I can figure out this side, I'll be able to get some idea of what's going on in this question. Now to avoid making the diagram messy, I'm going to draw that triangle over here. Same triangle, but I just want to draw it because I need to label certain things. So here's that triangle, and that triangle is really this one right here. That one. So let's label it. This is a half, this is √3/3, and this is a right angle. So I want to find this guy right here, x. And I can do that using Pythagoras. So x squared plus a half squared is going to be √3/3 all squared. So we have x squared plus a quarter is equal to 3/9. So therefore x squared will be 1/3 minus a quarter. And that means x squared is equal to 1/12. And x is therefore 1 over the square root of 12. And that is really 1/2√3. And if you really want to rationalize the denominator, it will become √3/6. So this is √3/6. Now, when you see these side lengths, does it help you in any way? Not really, right? I mean, maybe it does, but they're sort of in fractional form. But some of you can probably already see a scenario here, a ratio of the sides, but if you can't, one thing that will definitely help is if you multiply everything by 6/√3. And if you do that, this becomes, I'm just looking at the ratios, I'm not changing the lengths. I just want to get a comparison. This becomes 1. If you multiply this by 6/√3, this now becomes 3/√3, which is just √3. And if you multiply this guy by 6/√3, it becomes just 2. So now I've got a triangle with side lengths that have a ratio of 1, 2, and √3. And what is that? It is a 60, 30, 90 triangle. And so that's what I really was trying to get at there. So if this is 30, 60, 90, that means this is 30, this is 60, and this is 30 and 60 right there. So this length we just got was root 3 over 6 right here. So I'll just put that right there, root 3 over 6. All right. So now we can do this. A we can figure out as follows. A will basically be the pi segment right there. So I'll just put that there, the pi segment, minus this triangle, minus the triangle. So let's figure that out. The pi segment, this is 60 degrees, so it's 60 over 360 of pi r squared, and r is root 3 over 3. And then the area of the triangle is 1/2 base times height. The base is from there to there, which is going to be root 3 over 3. So essentially that means this is equilateral triangle. Very interesting. And then the height is right there. That's 1/2. And that's it. This is going to help us figure out A. So this is 1 over 6 times pi. This looks like 3 over 9, which is 1/3 when you reduce it. And this looks like root 3 over 4 times 3, which is 12. All right? So hopefully this is correct. Now, I'm not interested in A. I'm interested in 4A, right? Because I have to figure out all 4 of those guys, and all 4 of them are the same. So 4A will be just 4 times that. So it would be 4 times pi over 18 minus 4 root 3 over 12. And I believe that's going to be pi over 9 minus root 3 over 3. Pi over 9 minus root 3 over 3. Oh, sorry, 2 pi over 9. I forgot that one. Yeah, because 4 over 18 reduces to 2 pi over 9. 2 pi over 9 minus root 3 over 3. Okay, good. Number 16 is B. Every high school in the city of Euclid sent a team of 3 students to a math contest. Each participant in the contest received a different score. Andrea's score was the median among all students, and hers was the highest score on her team. Andrea's teammates, Beth and Carla, placed 37th and 64th respectively. How many schools are in the city? Okay, interesting question here. So we have school number 1, school number 2, all the way up until, I guess, school N, where N represents the number of schools. And then for each of these schools, they have 3 students, like A, B, and C. And in the first school, for example, we have Andrea, Beth, and Carla. And that's why I wrote A, B, and C. And they're telling me that Andrea is the median in terms of her placing, her score. And then Beth placed 37th and Carla placed 64th. Okay. Now, Andrea is the median score, right? So how do you figure out the median? If you have a bunch of numbers, like if you have, say, 5 numbers in a row, the median is the middle number. So if there was 5 numbers, the median is 5 plus 1 divided by 2, which is the third number, right? So in our case, we have N schools, but each school has 3 students. So there's 3N students. So that's how many students there are, and we have to find the median. Well, in the same way I did here, you add 1, and then you divide by 2. And that is indicating the place that Andrea is in, because that's the median. Andrea is the median. So manipulating this equation, we get 3n plus 1 is equal to 2a, and therefore 3n is equal to 2a minus 1, and therefore n is equal to 2a minus 1 over 3. So that means that, first and foremost, that the number of students has to be an odd number. That's the only way you're going to get an absolute middle value for a median. So looking at these answer choices, the only ones that's going to give you an odd number for the number of students, this would give you 66 students because you have to multiply the number of schools by 3. This would be 69, this would be 72, 75, and this would be 78. The only ones that are odd in here are this guy and this guy. So all these other ones I can eliminate. So now I'm boiling down to 2 answers, and those are the ones that need to be explored. So let's make a little table since we only have 2 answer choices. We've got n, we've got the number of students, and we've got the median. Okay, so our only choices are 23, and the number of students would therefore be 69. The median we can figure out with this formula right here. So that would be 3 times n plus 1 divided by 2, so the median here would be 35. And then the only other choice we have is n25, number of students 75. That would be 75 plus 1 is 76, divided by 2 would be 38. Okay, so I've got m is the median, and that represents Andrea. She is either 35th or she is 38th. Well, which one is it? Well, here's the line that tells you. Hers, Andrea, was the highest score on her team. So that means that she must have been between these two. If she's the highest, then she must have been placing 35th, because the other two placed 37th and 64th, which is obviously lower. So this is the only way this can work, and therefore n is 23. So the answer, number 17, is B. Positive integers a, b, and c are randomly and independently selected with replacement from the set 1 to 2010. What is the probability that a, b, c plus a, b plus a is divisible by 3? A, B, C plus A, B plus A is divisible by 3, so it is of the form 3K. Now, looking at this, I quickly realize that I can factor out an A, and if I do, I get BC plus B plus 1. So we have 2 scenarios. The first scenario, or first case, is when A is of the form 3n. If that is true, then this thing will definitely be divisible by 3, no matter what B and C are. So from this set, A has to be a multiple of 3, and therefore we can easily figure that out by dividing 2010 by 3. That will give me the number of numbers that are divisible by 3, and that very nicely works out to 670. So in this set, there are 670 numbers, 3, 6, 9, 12, and so on, that are multiples of 3. So 670 divided by 2010, which is perfectly equal to 1/3. That takes care of case 1. Now, case 2 is when A is not equal to a multiple of 3. Well, if this case had a probability of 1/3, then this case has a probability of 2/3. But, not so fast, and BC plus B plus 1 this guy right here must be a multiple of 3. So this has to now equal 3n. So our probability at the very end is going to be this 1/3 right here plus this 2/3 right here times whatever probability we get for this. So I'll call this whatever we want to call it, P2, let's say. So if I can figure out P2, then I'm set. I'm done with the question. All right, so here we go. So we are now concentrating solely on case 2. Now BC plus B plus 1 equals 3n, right? So that means that BC plus B is equal to 3n minus 1. And I can factor out a B. B times C plus 1 is going to be 3n minus 1. Now we are going to use mod, and I'll explain what that means. It essentially means the following, right? If you have A is equivalent to B mod something, let's say mod n, that means A and B give the same remainder when divided by B, when divided by n, sorry. So I'll give you an example. Let's say I have 5 is equivalent to 8 mod 3. What does that mean? It means that if you take 5 and divide by 3, you get a remainder of 2. And if you take 8 and divide by 3, you also get a remainder of 2. So this statement holds true. So that is basically what we have to do up here. We have to figure this out with mod. And I'm going to use mod 3. So any number that's of the form 3n minus 1 can be written as 2 mod 3. What that means is that if you take any number of this form and divide by 3, you're going to get a remainder of 2. For example, if n was, say, 3, this would be 8. 8 divided by 3 gives a remainder of 2. If n was 5, this would be 14. 14 divided by 3 gives a remainder of 2, and so on. So that's how you get from here to here. Now what about this side? This side, we have two scenarios. For this to be true, it can be either this or this, or. So there's two scenarios, and I will write both. The first scenario is when you have B is equivalent to 1 mod 3, and C is equivalent to 1 mod 3. Because if you combine those, it will become 1 times 1 plus 1, and that is equivalent to 2, right? 1 times 2 is 2. So that's the first scenario that this works. The other one is if you have B being equivalent to 2 mod 3 and C being equivalent to 0 mod 3. If that is the case, this becomes 2, this becomes 0 plus 1, and you have 2 times 1, which is indeed 2. So that is how we have to do this. So let's talk about this. B is 1 mod 3. What does that mean? It means that when you take B and divide it by 3, it gives a remainder of 1. So examples of that are B equal to 4, 7, 10, those kinds of numbers. And we have, of those original set of 2010, every third number will be like that. So 2010 divided by 3, which is 670, that's how many numbers will be of this form, 4, 7, 10. So in terms of a probability, it's 670 over 2010, which is a third. Probability of this happening is a third. And in a very similar way, what is this? C is equivalent to 1 mod 3. It means that if you take C and divide it by 3, you'll get a remainder of 1. Same thing. So C is also either 4, 7, or 10, dot, dot, dot. So the same thing. The probability of getting a C like that is a third. So the probability of this and this, 1/3 and 1/3, is equivalent to 1/9. So that takes care of this scenario right here. Now we have to talk about this scenario. B is equal to 2 mod 3. What does that mean? That means when B is divided by 3, it gives a remainder of 2. So examples are 5, 8, 11, and so on. And in a very similar way, from that original list, every third number will be like this. And that means the probability is a third of getting a B that is of that form. That would give a remainder of 2 when divided by 3. C is equal to 0 mod 3. What does that mean? It means that C divided by 3 would give us a remainder of 0. So C is basically of the form 3, 6, 9, multiples of 3. Because if you divide by 3, the remainder is 0. And the probability of getting that is a third. So, as before, the probability of getting B and C, B be equivalent to 2 mod 3 and C being equivalent to 0 mod 3, is 1/3 times 1/3, which is 1/9. And we have to get this or that, so we have to add these. So 1/9 plus 1/9 is 2/9. And this is my P2 that I was trying to figure out from the very beginning. So that 2/9 is what I put over here. So this gives me my probability overall. So that's going to be 4/27. And this, top and bottom by 9 to get a common denominator, 13/27. And therefore, number 18, the answer is E. A circle with center O has an area of 156 pi. Triangle ABC is equilateral. BC is a chord on the circle. OA is 4√3, and point O is outside ABC. What is the side length of ABC? So let's talk about this in terms of a diagram. Let's draw a line from the center, which will be approximately here, to that top right there. Probably not drawn to scale, but that's okay. And then now I'm going to connect the dots here from the triangle to the center like that. And now let's start labeling this. So this is obviously O, and this is going to be A right here, B, and C like that. And anything else that they tell me? OA, this distance right here is 4√3, and then I think that's it. And it's equilateral, so I can just make these lines to show that it is equilateral. And I'm going to extend that line actually all the way down to the bottom like that to cut that base in half. Now the good news is that immediately I can tell that this is going to help us. Since this is equilateral and this is a perpendicular, we again have a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So that's very helpful because the ratio of the sides, as always, are 1, 2, and √3. So if this represents the height, and I can call this x, I can get a relationship between the height and x pretty quickly. X representing half the base. So h over x is going to be √3/1, and therefore h is equal to √3x. All right, so now let's take into consideration this piece of information that they gave me, that the area of that circle is 156 pi. So area is 156 pi, so that means pi r squared is 156 pi. So r squared is 156, and therefore r is the root of 156. like that. So where do we go from here? Well, I think now this represents the radius, right? OB. So I'll just write that in 156. And then we can just use Pythagoras, I guess, on this triangle right here. So that means using Pythagoras, x squared plus this top to bottom is h plus 4 root 3 all squared is equal to that radius squared. X squared plus h I just got in terms of x, so I put that in there. And r squared is 156. So there we go. We got just one variable, and this will allow me to solve. Expanding, I get x squared plus, let's see here, 3x squared plus 24x plus 48 is equal to 156. Put everything on one side, collect like terms. 4x squared plus 24x minus 108 is equal to 0. Divide through by 4, and you get x squared plus 6x minus 27 is equal to 0. I think this will factor. X 9, 3 plus minus. So the only positive value of x is 3. So therefore the side of that equilateral triangle is 2x, and that will be equal to 6. So number 19, the answer is B. Two circles lie outside regular hexagon A, B, C, D, E, F. The first is tangent to AB, and the second is tangent to DE. Both are tangent to the lines BC and FA. What is the ratio of the area of the second circle to that of the first circle? All right, my friends, not a perfect diagram, but it serves the purpose. First, let's explain this. We have two circles, right? We've got one here, and we've got another one, big one right here, and they are obviously outside of this hexagon. And here is our hexagon, and it's a regular hexagon. What that means is that all sides are the same, and we will label it, therefore, A, B, C, D, E, F. And the first circle is tangent to AB as shown, and the second is tangent to DE as shown. So these are approximately the tangent points right there and there. And both are tangent to BC and FA. BC extended, as you can see, touches the first circle right there and touches the second circle approximately right there. And the same story holds true for FA as it is extended. It touches the first circle there and the second circle there. All right. So what they want you to figure out is what is the ratio of the area of the second circle to the area of the first circle. Let's just call the radius of the second circle R2 and the radius of the smaller first circle R1. So they want you to figure out pi R2 squared over pi small r1 squared. So the pi's cancel, so the only thing you're left with is just r2 squared over r1 squared. So I don't necessarily need to find the numerical values, I just have to get a relationship between r1 and r2, and then I can figure out that ratio. So here we go. The first thing, of course, I want you to notice is how did I construct this hexagon? I constructed it by first drawing an equilateral triangle right there, and then chopping off smaller equilateral triangles from each side. So if each equilateral triangle has, let's say, a length of x, then that's x, and therefore, since it's equilateral, it's x all the way around, like that. And since this hexagon, all the sides are the same, this is also x, FA, BC, and ED. Okay, so I think that is pretty decent in terms of its labeling. So we're done with the top half. Now we need to concentrate on the bottom half. And to do that, I will first draw the center, and I'll draw a line to the tangent point. So right like that. And then I'll draw another line from the same center to this tangent point right here. And finally one from here to the vertice of the triangle. And very quickly you'll notice that this whole triangle, of course, was also equilateral, because it has to be, since this is equilateral and those have the same angles. So that means this angle is 60 degrees. So since I drew this line, that line will cut it in half. This is 30 degrees and this is 60. And this is, of course, a right angle. So this is a 30, 60, 90 triangle, and as always, the ratio will be 1, 2, and root 3 in terms of the ratio of the sides. Now, the distance from here to here is R2, like that. So I can easily figure out the distance from here to here in terms of R2. Or you can do the exact same thing on this triangle. This is going to be 30, this is going to be 60, and this is 90. And this is R2. So same thing. You can figure out the distance from there to there in terms of R2, since the ratio of the sides are 1, 2, and root 3. So let's do that. Let's call this side, whatever you want to call it, Y, and we'll figure out the ratio. So that means R2 over Y is equal to 1 over root 3. So that means Y is equal to root 3 R2. So I'll put that in here. Y is equal to root 3 R2. So that means the distance from here to here is also root 3 R2 by the exact same principle. And if you did the same thing on that side, that would also be root 3 R2. Now I want you to concentrate on this aspect. I'm going to draw a line from the center all the way up to that tangent point right there. And it's a little bit harder to see, but this section right here from E to D, that is going to be cut in half by this point. So this, which is half of E to D, I will just draw right here, is going to be equivalent to x over 2. So from here, this whole thing is going to be x plus x over 2. But what's good is that from this point to that tangent point is equivalent to this point to that tangent point, right? That's a rule. Anytime you have a point and you draw a tangent to the circle, those two lines will be equivalent. So again, from here to here is equivalent to from there to there. So this distance from here to here is the same as x plus x over 2, which is 3 over 2x. So now we have everything. We have the entire side. We have this whole side labeled, and then we have this whole side labeled. And because this is an equilateral, those two sides will be equal. So first let's draw this in terms of its variables. It is x plus x plus x plus 3 over 2x plus root 3 R2. Right? X plus x plus x plus 3 over 2x plus root 3 R2. I just added them all up. And that is equal to this side right here. This side, because this is an equilateral triangle. So that is root 3 R2 plus root 3 R2. Like that. So combining we get, let's see here, 9 over 2x is equal to root 3 R2. And therefore x is equal to 2 root 3 over 9 R2. Or if you want to do it the other way, if you feel it's necessary, it could be that R2 is equal to 9x over 2 root 3. Now at this point, we have to figure out R1. And where is R1? It's this little circle right here. So that little circle, I obviously will need to make it much bigger. So I will draw that little diagram again. So I've drawn that diagram a little bit bigger to illustrate what I need to do. And it's very similar to what I did previously. I'm going to draw some tangent points from the center to that tangent point, and from the center to that tangent point, and then draw a line connecting there. And let's label this now. This will be my R1 for the circle. And if you recall, from here to here was x. So I'll label this x over 2. And since this is an equilateral triangle, this is 30, this is 60, and this is 90. Correct? And as always, the ratio is 1, 2, and root 3 for the sides. So I can easily get a relationship between x and R1. X over 2 over R1 is the equivalent of root 3 over 1. Right? So that means x over 2 is equal to root 3 R1 cross multiplying, and x therefore is equivalent to 2 root 3 R1. So there we go. We have a relationship for x here, and we have a relationship for x here. So we can set them equal to each other. 2 root 3 over 9 R2 is the same as 2 root 3 R1. So now the 2 root 3's cancel, so all I'm left with is just R2 over 9 is equal to R1. And let's recap what we have to figure out in this question is this ratio, R2 squared over R1 squared. R2 squared over R1 squared. And as I said earlier, we actually don't need to figure out the numerical values of R1 and R2. As long as we have that relationship, we can figure out this ratio. I will now just substitute in the value for R1 is R2 over 9, and I have to square that. So this now becomes R2 squared over R2 squared over 81. Invert and multiply. R2 squared over 1 is equal to 81 over R2 squared. And the R2 squareds cancel, and the only thing you're left with is just 81. So the answer to this really great question is D.